Detroit Become Human, the latest installment of the strict storytelling game design made by David Cage. Is it good? Let's talk about it. What's up guys, J.Bandicoot here, back with a review. This is something that I wanted to start doing, just reviewing things that I like, and today I'll be tackling a type of game that I've kind of always been a fan of, and that type is the branching storyline narrative known as Detroit Become Human, and kind of the entire whole genre made by David Cage. Now, I want to preface this by saying that this will be a spoiler-free review, as the game has just become available for free for the month of July on PlayStation Plus as part of their monthly free game promotion, so I won't be spoiling it for anyone who hasn't played the game yet. Now, when this game was first introduced at E3 2016, I was extremely interested to play it. The E3 trailer summed up the game's plot perfectly. Advanced artificial intelligence created by humans that constantly struggle with their own self-actualizations and the notion of free will. That kind of gray area is one of the biggest factors of interest for me, as I love a good and in-depth story that departs from the trope of strict good versus evil. For instance, I absolutely adored Avengers Infinity War because it gave us Thanos, the biggest villain in Marvel's cinematic history to date, and arguably one of the biggest villains in cinematic history ever. And the reason Thanos is such a great villain is because he's not doing what he does simply for the sake of being evil. He's incredibly relatable and is just trying to do what he thinks is right for the universe, and that is what makes a great villain. That's what makes a great story, is the notion of right and wrong not being black and white, but 50 shades of gray. Now that, my friends, is the true evil. That kind of depth in a character is so incredibly intriguing and gripping, so you can imagine my excitement when this game decided to make that kind of depth integral to the game's storyline. Now, this kind of game has come under scrutiny by many as not even being defined as a game, due to its unique gameplay and the way you play it. The way it works is that in these sorts of games, your character can't really die per se. You have action sequences for sure, but nothing you do in particular can make your character die and start the game from a previous checkpoint in the traditional way. Instead, how these games handle character deaths is that they incorporate them into the story. The possible times and causes of death that a specific character can have are already written into the game's branching script and plot, giving the game a plethora of different alternative endings. You have to go down one of the paths that ends in a character death for your character to die. You can't walk into the street and get hit by a car, kill your character, and go back to the previous checkpoint. That's not how these sorts of games work. These games also have different control schemes from more traditional games, as most of the time you have to do a lot of detective work and sleuthing to advance to the next objective. In this game in particular, it can range from a number of different things, such as hiding from the cops while you're walking down the street to avoid detection and suspicion, deciding what course of action to take in a dicey or hectic situation, cleaning the house in a certain order, encountering decaying androids in a junkyard in order to recover their parts to repair yourself. Yeah, that's a thing in this game. But it is because of these design choices that many in the video game industry don't even consider these stories as video games. Instead, they mainly refer to them as playable movies. And while I can definitely see their point to an extent, I tend to disagree. I play video games personally for the story, and these types of games are incredibly rich in that department. From the plot, to the set of characters, and all the way to the environments, I love playing these games because it gives me a satisfying and thrilling story to be a part of. But enough generalities, let's get into Detroit Become Human, and see how it stacks up to other games, as well as the previous entries by David Cage. In Detroit Become Human, you play as 3 different characters. Kara, an android that was purchased by a white trash family for the function of doing their daily chores. You have Connor, an android that was created to aid the police department of Detroit in solving crimes. And you have Marcus, an android that was purchased by an elderly man for the function of taking care of him, as he's really unable to take care of himself due to his declining physical condition and his age. All three characters are extremely well developed, which is an incredible feat due to the fact that these characters are, at their core and description, robotic aids meant to serve mankind in every way. As the story progresses, you see these characters struggle with deep and philosophical ideas due to what is described as a mutation in their software, and begin to formulate their own thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and even emulated emotion. It is truly thrilling to watch this process happen as all three characters begin as androids who are performing the functions they were built and designed for. The game's plot deeply relates to the constant struggle of women and minorities as the humans of this world constantly mistreat the androids due to their differences, but it takes on a whole new form as two different races of beings rather than two different races of the same species and people. Detroit begs the question of the right to life, which is a definite question the human race needs to begin asking itself in reality as we advance further into artificial intelligence. Does intelligence created by human life to serve us have the right to sentience, free will, and equal rights? That's up for you to decide in this game, as it gives you a chance to play from these androids' respective points of views. It really is intriguing, interesting, and emotional watching these characters go through their lives that they were given and constantly struggle with attempting to take it back. What makes me really appreciate this game, though, is that it is begging a real-life question that human beings today need to start asking themselves. It forecasts our very future and lets us deal with these conflicts before they even happen, which in my opinion is absolutely brilliant. Now, of course, this game isn't perfect. It does contain scenes and elements to the story that don't feel like they need to be there in the first place, and sometimes the game does feel like a drag as some scenes are just plain boring. However, these scenes are integral to the relatability and development of these characters, so I can give it a slight pass. But my biggest issue with the game is the controls. I can't tell you how many times I was attempting to just move around with one of these characters, and either the camera switched on me, changing the movement controls and making my character go into a circle, switching back to the original camera and making me stop altogether to prevent my character going more circles, and it's just, that's a hassle in itself. Or just the basic actions like trying to open a drawer. Sometimes the controls required for these actions are just too damn complicated. In some scenes, to open a drawer, you have to pull your joystick to one direction and then spin it around until your character opens the drawer. If you don't turn your stick enough, or your finger slips off, or whatever happens, you mess up the angle, your character completely exits the animation and automatically closes the drawer, making you reopen it. This is a common complaint in these types of playable movie games, and it definitely needs addressing. The controls don't have to reflect what you would have to do in real life to perform these actions. I understand that the developer is trying to make this game as realistic as possible, but sometimes over-realistic can be a bad thing. Take the Telltale games for example. I mean, not their business model because they're bankrupt now, but their control scheme. To do basic actions such as open a drawer or interact with an object in those games, you press a button. Simple. No hassle or overcomplicated controls, just press a button, you got it. This is something I would love to see implemented in these sorts of games, as it would make playing the game more immersive than including the realistic controls themselves. But those gripes are really the only negative things I have to say about the game. Other than what I just mentioned, the game is fantastic. It tells an incredible and emotional story, and it really lets you direct how you want the story to go. Your own beliefs and actions reflect in the story, and you really can't ask for much more than that. I would compare this game to what Mass Effect should have been, taking your actions over the course of the game and giving them rewards or consequences for the ending. Kill the character earlier? Sucks, dude, now you can't do this certain thing. Remained ethical throughout the game and kept everyone alive? Good job, now you have all these helpful things at your disposal. It's really rewarding and gratifying in this way when you do it right. And the numerous amounts of endings make you want to go back and play the game again to do things differently and see how it would all turn out had you done a different thing or taken a different course, increasing the replayability of this game tenfold to other games. In my mind, this game is an incredible change of pace and a great narrative to play and interact with. I would personally rank this game at an 8 out of 10. The controls are wonky for sure, but the story and ethical dilemmas presented make this game a must-play for anyone who hasn't already. As I previously mentioned, this game is currently available for free for PlayStation Plus members for the rest of July, so if you haven't downloaded it already, I would strongly recommend you do so, and if you download it in this way, you also get one of the other David Cage games, Heavy Rain, for free as well. So you're essentially getting 3 games this month, which, I mean, I wouldn't pass it up, would you? So with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. If you haven't already, be sure to smash that like button, consider subscribing, and hit that notification bell for more videos. See you guys later. Take it easy. I'll see you guys next time.